Samuel Amao, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first edition of Leadership Discuss Live with Amao Babajide Samuel. Let me start by apologizing for us coming live a little bit behind schedule. We're supposed to be here exactly 6 p.m. Nigerian time, and we're a bit late by 10 minutes. We hope that this will not repeat itself in subsequent edition. Um, like we have said in our introductory video, Leadership Discourse Live would come up every last Sunday of the month between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. And one of the things we desire to achieve with this is to bring our discussions, our various episodes for the month, to bring them home by trying to see how we relate the principles that we have shared in the course of the month with the real life experiences that we have on a daily basis. A number of questions have been asked as to what is leadership. Who is a leader? How do we emerge as leaders? What are the processes for leadership development? And I want to assure you that if you stay long enough with us in our various episodes, you will come to have a clearer understanding of what leadership really is all about. You'll be able to know or identify your space in leadership, and you'll be able to grow your influence in the society. What do we intend to achieve with this program? Our primary objective is to see how we inspire as many as we can towards being a better version of them. Like we said in one of our previous episodes in the month of January, in the words of John Quincy Adams, if your action inspires others to want to know more, to want to do more, and to want to become more, then you are a leader. So our purpose for Leadership Discourse with Amao Babajide Samuel is to see how we empower you with knowledge for you to develop your leadership competence and leadership character, so that you can be a positive influence in your society. We can imagine how better our society would look like if every one of us identify our place in purpose and we play a significant role in making sure that the world is a better place. If every one of us should stay on realizing on our purpose in life, I want to assure you that we're going to have less ills in our society as we do today. It is our inability to find ourselves, our inability to identify our purpose, our inability to identify our purpose, to be able to, our inability to explore our talents, our potentials, and our gifting, that is actually giving us a setback, and that is making a lot of people to live a life of frustration, a life of depression, a life of stagnancy. The moment we're able to identify our purpose as individual person, to know why we are here, and we can develop the competence, the skills required for us to fulfill our individual visions, I can bet it with you that everybody will stay on his or her lane, and together we'll make the world a better place. So basically, I want to welcome you to the first edition of our Leadership Discourse Live. If you are part of us here, I would like us to please share this on your Facebook page so that others can be aware that this program is taking place, and they can also enjoy the benefit of the knowledge that we are going to share on this platform. So please help us to share with your friends. And as we do that, we hope that together we'll be able to enjoy the benefits of the purpose why this program is being established. Let me start by saying that leadership is 25% nature and 75% nurtured. All right? There are questions over the years as to whether leaders are born or leaders are made. There are questions as to whether leaders are born or leaders are made. Prior to the 20th century, the works of people like Aristotle and Plato and a lot of other philosophers postulate that leaders are born. Well, around those periods, the world operates more of a monarchical system of government, where somebody is born into royalty, is groomed in royalty, and it is only this set of people that have capacity to lead the society at large. All right? And that is why many of these scholars believe or postulated that leaders are born and not made. But in the last 100 years, particularly the last 60 years from the 1950s to date, there have been rigorous research on the concept of leadership. And that has yielded a lot of theories on leadership. And with this, many had come to the conclusion that leaders are made and not born. But there is this class of philosophers that also comes to conclusion that leaders are both born and made, because leaders are born, but they are made through a process. All of us are born with certain gifting, certain talent, certain capacity, certain intelligence. And you see, these gifting, skills, talents are what basically defines our potentials to lead. All right? Because in the words of John C. Maxwell, leadership is influence. So, and everything in life rises and falls on leadership. Now, the moment you relate with one or more persons, you have to develop the skill to influence the people you relate with positively. All right? And it is your ability to positively influence people towards a given direction that leadership is all about. So basically, what we are going to look at today is briefly to look at the concept of leadership in terms of whether leaders are born or made, then to do a recap of the previous episode we have had in the last 2 weeks. Of course, we have made consistent posts on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And for the past 2 weeks, we have shared our views on leadership and vision. That was the first episode. And we were able to establish the fact that vision is the most important tool used by leaders to attract followers and to influence followers towards a defined goal. All right? One peculiar characteristic of leaders is that they have a clear-cut knowledge of what they want to become, where they want to go, and they have developed the skills or the competence that helps them to fulfill or to realize their vision. All right? I remember in one of those episodes, we mentioned the fact that the currency that every leader brings to the marketplace for leadership exchange is vision. Now look at it this way. Leadership is an entrusted authority given to a leader by his or her follower. All right? Leadership is a choice. Your followers chooses to follow you. Okay? So what makes a person to want to follow you is your capacity to realize vision. So in a way, they have seen that as a leader, you have the capacity to envision the future, and your capacity to envision the future is being compressed in a vision. All right? No. So every leader that you find, either individual leaders or organizational leaders, have clear-cut vision. That was what we tried to establish in our first episode, talking about vision and leadership. So if you are going to improve your capacity to lead, then you must learn, how do I develop vision? In the year 2001 or 2001, the federal government under the administration of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo gave licenses to mobile telecommunication companies. Prior to that time, we had NITEL. All right? And at the time the license was given, there were just a little above 400,000 lines in the country. All right? If you have a telephone line in your house, you must be a big man. I remember at that time, my mom had an uncle in the United States of America, and in the late 90s, my mom occasionally would have to trek down to a family friend's house who at that time had a landline in their house to be able to communicate with our brother. All right? So it took some time for NITEL to be able to process a landline for us. It took roughly a year plus. So basically at that time, unlike what we have today, that everybody have access to a mobile phone, we had landlines, and only restricted number of families had access to it. But in 2000, the federal government decided to license mobile companies. And the first company that was licensed was Econet. Econet is what today metamorphosed into Airtel. All right? Now, Airtel started operation, was the first mobile company to start operation on the 8th of August 2001. All right? But on starting their operation, Airtel, or Econet as it was called that time, was contended with the Lagos market. Of course, you agree with me that Lagos is a cosmopolitan city and has one of the largest number of population and highest volume of economic transaction in Nigeria. So Econet was contended with staying in Lagos. But a few weeks after MTN started operation, and their vision was bigger, was larger, and they started moving. Initially, they started with the major cities across Nigeria. So they moved from Port Harcourt to Ilorin, to Osogbo, to Kano, to Kaduna, to Makurdi. And before you know what was happening, MTN became the largest mobile telecommunication company in Nigeria till date. You see, your vision is what defines how far and how fast you would go. Because it is the link between your present, where you are, and your future, where you desire to be. If you go to Lagos today, Airtel still remains the strongest telecommunication network widely used by Lagosians. But on national scale, MTN is the strongest telecommunication company. And why? It's because of the strength of their vision. So whether if you are going to grow or you are going to go fast as an individual or as a company, then you must work on improving your capacity to dream big and to be able to develop strong visions, big visions that will create or generate activities. And it is this activity that draws people around you to help you realize that vision. So that was exactly the first thing we looked at in our first episode. In our second episode, we look at the 3 key attitudes that leaders must develop. If you watch the clip of the second episode, we talked about the fact that leaders develop the attitude of gratitude, leaders develop the attitude of respect, and leaders develop the attitude of responsibility. Now, as leaders, we must cultivate our habits around these 3 attitudes. And I can remember we mentioned the fact that if you are going to lead and you are going to have quality relationship around your life, then you must learn to always use the word thank you, please, and I'm sorry. You see, leaders are used to these 3 key words or languages. They make use of this word properly. All right? Now, unfortunately, I discovered around us today that a large number of people have a high sense of entitlement instead of having a sense of responsibility. Many people feel they are entitled to favor, to opportunities, to a good job. All right, you see a typical Nigeria and he or she tells you that, well, the politicians are sharing our national cake. Now, I can't easily identify where that national cake is from because there is no cake, as far as I'm concerned, to be shared nationally. That is the sense of entitlement. I remember in the words of John F. Kennedy in one of his speech, he said, as Americans, you must think of what you can do for your nation and not what your nation can do for you. Now, once you find a person with an attitude of gratitude, respect, and responsibility, their focus is on what they can give and not what they can take. So, their level of expectation from other people is limited. Hence, they are not disappointed. Hence, they are not hurt when people fail to do what is expected for them, because they feel they are in a relationship with the responsibility of giving and not taking. So, one key skill that leaders must develop basically is a relationship skill. And this relationship skill can be developed when you develop your attitude around gratitude, respect, and responsibility. It's important that we echo this so that we can bring our thoughts, our concept home. All right? Now, when a father pays the school fees of his or her child, he expects to see gratitude displayed in the word of such a child and in his or her action. All right? It takes responsibility for a father to pay the school fees of his or her child as at when due. Irresponsible parents do not care whether their children get education or not. So if you have a parent that provides you food, that pays your school fees, that clothes you, then it is your duty as a child to show the attitude of gratitude. So whenever something good is being done to you, then you have a responsibility to show gratitude. Then we also mentioned the fact that as leaders, then we must live to show people respect, irrespective of their sex, irrespective of their social or economic status. All right? I've come to see a large number of people say today that, well, I relate with you the way you relate with me. You see, you do not have to be good to people because they are good to you. You must practice kindness or goodness as a lifestyle. All right? Is it important that people should be good to you? Yes. But that should not be the determinant of how you react or how you relate with people. It must be a perpetual practice for you to respect people, not because they are your superiors, not because they are your contemporaries, not because they are your followers, but because they are humans. So we mentioned in our second episode the importance of relating with people on the basis of mutual respect. The third attitude we mentioned, if you remember, is the attitude of responsibility. As leaders, we must be responsible. We must be responsible first to ourselves, then we must be responsible to other people around us. Leadership is in responding to responsibility. Carrying out your duty, your role, is what defines your leadership. So as a father, you have a role to play. As a teacher, you have a role to play. As the chief accountant of a company, you have a role to play. and you take responsibility for your role or the position that you occupy. So leaders have this attitude of gratitude, respect, and responsibility. Yeah, going forward in our third episode, we mentioned the fact that leaders inspire others to become more, to do more, and to become more. This for me is instructional, because if my life is not an inspiration to other people, then we are not yet leaders. All right? Now, when people see that, for instance, you take your academics seriously, and because of that, you came out with good grades, and because you came out with good grades, you were able to get a good job in a blue chip company, and because you were able to get a good job, you could set up a stable family, and your family is doing well, you are riding a good car, perhaps you've been able to build your own house, you have your own structure. Now, your life can become a model or a source of inspiration to children of your friends, your siblings, your cousins and relatives, who feels that if I can also take my academics seriously, it's an indicator that I would live a quality life in the time to come. So, in the words of John Quincy Adams, he said, if your action inspire other people to want to do more, to want to know more, to want to become more, then you are a leader. My question is, how is your life inspiring other people? Bill Clinton, who ruled America in the 90s, I think between 92 and year 2000, said that as a primary school pupil in the 60s, John F. Kennedy paid a visit to the school where he attended, and he had a handshake with all of them as pupils in that school, and gave them a charge that inspired him to take a decision that one day he also will become the president of America. 30 years down the line, in 1992, I think, he became the president of the United States of America. Leaders live a life that inspires others to want to become more. Many people know Ronaldinho as one of the best players the world had ever produced. Of course, he was a two-time world footballer, the best world footballer, as the case might be. But not many people, except for those of us in Nigeria, will know JJ Okocha. Now, in one of the interviews Ronaldinho had in his early days of playing ball, he mentioned the fact that he got a lot of inspiration to dribble and to improve his skills watching JJ Okocha on the field of play. And he eventually became better than even the so-called JJ Okocha that inspired him. Leaders build leaders. Our life is meant to be an inspiration to people around us. Leaders are role models that people look up to. So when what you do, your lifestyle, inspires other people to want to know more, to want to do more, and to want to become more, then you are a leader. Those are the words of John Quincy Adams. And that was what we considered in our third episode. In the fourth episode, we mentioned discipline as a basic requirement for leadership. Here in Nigeria, we've had, in the last 7 days or thereabout, incidents that have called to question the discipline of certain people that we look up to as people of influence in our society. One is the case of the gospel singer Samuel Kosun, and the other was the case of the popular former actress of in Jennifer Diary, that is Toyosi Baby, as she was profoundly called. And our pastor, Pastor Timileyin Adigun. Now, these stories that came up in the last few days are called to question the quality of discipline of some of these people that are supposed to be role models in our society. And that was why, in the word of David Oyedepo, he said, charisma or competence can take you to the top. He said, character is what will sustain you there. There are two components in leadership skill development. On one side, you have competence development. On the other side, we have character development. Now, some people work on the development of their competence, neglecting the development of their character. All right? And one key important tool or variable that you must develop to build your character for leadership is discipline. Late last year, we had a number of music trending. One of it is the Zazu by this guy called Portable. All right? Now, is it a good song? Maybe yes. But the problem is it right to build a society with morals and value? Then the answer might likely be a no. Because we have responsibility to build quality in our society. So when you look at the values that are promoted in some of the lyrics of songs produced by some of these so-called celebrities in the music industry, it calls to question the culture that we are building in our society. Doing the right thing is different from doing things right. You could produce good music, but you might not be producing good music. You could produce good music rather, but the good music might not be the right music for the society. So over time, we have had deterioration in the quality of society that we have because people have failed to pay attention to the principle of discipline. So you have teachers who sleeps or sexually assaults their students. You have bosses who embezzles the company's fund and they fail to pay the salary of their staffs as at when due. All right, forgetting the fact that these workers have dependents that would live on the salaries they are being paid. So we have a society today that is lacking in discipline. And that is to tell you that we have a problem of leadership, or a problem of quality in our leadership. And that is partly a reason why our society is not growing as it should grow. So as leaders, it's important for us to cultivate the discipline of character. We can't afford to live anyhow. We have to live on purpose. We have to live our life on principles and on values that will not only help us achieve our dreams, but would help us to have a quality or a better society. So leaders are always asking themselves the question, is what I'm doing right or not? They don't just act. They ask the question before taking action. Is what I'm doing right? If the answer is no, they fail to take action on that plan that they intend to carry out. So, discipline is a basic requirement for leadership. The 5th episode talked about 3 habits that leaders must avoid. 3 habits that leaders must avoid. Like we mentioned in the episode, people form their habits and their habit forms them. Alright? Now, in the words of Jim Rohn rather, he said that habits are things that we do repeatedly for a long period of time. Alright? So, basically, attitudes are what forms our habits, and habits eventually fixes our character, and it is our character that determines our destination or our destiny. So as leaders, we must be cautious of what habits we cultivate and what attitude that we grow into habits. Now, we mentioned that there are 3 habits that we must try to avoid as leaders. Number 1, you must avoid criticism. Number 2, you must avoid condemnation. Number 3, you must avoid complaining. You must not build your life around these 3 principles. You must not be known for always complaining. There are people that you meet, they are always complaining. They don't see good in what other people do. There are people that they are given to condemning other persons. There are people that are given to criticizing. And if you cast back to that episode, we mentioned the fact that with these 3 habits, you will kill your initiative, you will kill your creativity, and you will kill your sense of responsibility. So, if you are going to lead, then you must avoid building your life around these 3 habits. The last episode for the month of January, titled The 4 Stages of Leadership Progression. Now, in subsequent episodes, we are going to see the 4 critical skills that leaders will have to develop for competence in their leadership, or for effectiveness in their leadership competence. The first of such skill is personal development skill. A true leader must have self-awareness. You must be cautious of yourself. A true leader must have an improved sense of identity. You must know who you are. A true leader must be able to explore his or her talents, skills, and potential. A true leader must develop capacity to solve problems because leaders are problem solvers. A true leader must be able to improve the quality of his or her spiritual life, his or her physical life, his or her emotional life, and his or her mental life. Let me say to you here that every individual had 4 compartments of life: your spiritual, your emotional, your physical, and your mental life. And you must pay attention to these 4 compartments of your life, because just like we were encouraged in our days in school to always eat balanced diet, it is when you pay attention to developing these 4 compartments of your life that we can truly say that you are a leader. So, the first stage of leadership progression is self-leadership, which we refer to as personal leadership. If you are going to be effective in leading other people, the first person you have to lead is yourself. And that you do through self-leadership. And you can develop yourself by helping to develop your personal development skill. You must be able to bring yourself to a point that people see that you have the competence and the character to realize your goals. You must be a self-made success before people can be attracted to you and you can begin to influence other people. The moment you are successfully improve the competence of your self-leadership, then you grow into team leadership. All right? In a school setting, once the principals or the teacher notice that a particular student is doing well, academically, morally, he attend class properly and do a few other things that he should do as a regular student, they begin to pencil him or her down as one of the likely persons that will be made prefect anytime duty comes calling. So the moment they see in you that you have a capacity to succeed as an individual, as a person, then suddenly you will notice that they make you either the class rep or the class monitor, and after some time, you are made a school prefect. If they don't see that capacity to manage yourself in you, they would not make you a leader of others. Team is an acronym for the word together, everyone achieving more. All right? So your ability to work with other persons to achieve more as a team is what brings you to the next phase of leadership progression, which we refer to as team leadership. And team leadership, like we said, is all about leading other people. So the more your capacity grows, the larger the scope of people that you are given to manage or to lead. And we mentioned that the third progression in leadership development is what we refer to as business leadership. Thank you. Now, we said business leadership basically is opportunity leadership. A true leader, a true leader creates opportunity not just for himself, but for people around him. And that's exactly what you see true leaders do. The moment they are able to lead themselves, then they are able to lead other persons, then, they become business leaders. They are leaders of opportunities. They don't just lead themselves, but they create opportunities for people around them. Permit me to use an illustration that looks religious in nature. But if you will notice in Nigeria today, Pastor Chris Oyakilome of Christ Embassy had been able to raise more worship leaders for Nigeria than any other pastors. You have the likes of Sinach, the likes of Edward, Frank Edward, the likes of Moses Bliss, the likes of Gio Praise, and lots more people who in their own space today have found a niche for themselves in gospel music. Because a leader somewhere created a platform that gave them an opportunity to explore their gifting and their talent and potential. And today they are leaders in their own space. That is what we mean when we talk about business leadership. Then the third progression as we round up is basically what we refer to as strategic leadership. This is the level where you get to and you begin to shape the culture of the society. You live beyond now, you look into the future that is envisaged. And we call strategic leadership change leadership. Many of us will be familiar to the name Tony Elumelu. He grew from working in Union Bank in the mid-80s. He worked up the ladder, buy a larger share of Standard Trust Bank. He became the major shareholder in Standard Trust Bank. Standard Trust Bank merged with Trade Bank and it became UBA. All right, United Bank of, and they merged with, Trade Bank and UBA, and it became a conglomerate. Now, after this man retired a few years ago as the CEO of the United Bank of Africa, he went into change of strategic leadership. He started what is called the Tolu Elumelu Foundation. And one of the key assignments or activity of this organization is to see how to build and to fund the next generation entrepreneurs. And today, they have trained and empowered tens of thousands of entrepreneurs that are today doing well in their chosen field across various countries on the continent of Africa. That is what we mean, or what we refer to as change of strategic leadership. So, bringing our discourse home, in the last 2 weeks that we started our leadership discourse episode, we've been able to establish to us that leadership is about action. Leadership is not about title. It's about what people do. It's about how they do what they do to realize and to achieve their aims or their goals. All right? I want to appreciate everyone that has been part of our live section today. Would hope that we keep getting your input, we keep getting your response and your suggestions as we take this better. All we want to do is to bring leadership into our consciousness. Because until a concept comes into your consciousness, you don't act on it. So we want us to begin to see ourselves as leaders, whether in our homes, in our place of work, in our religious organizations, in the community where we lead, or in the society at large. My ideal or my belief is that if all of us individually can do the right thing where we find ourselves, then we are going to have a better society. If all of us are conscious of the fact that we are leaders in our right, then I can be very much sure to tell you that the quality of society that we have in Nigeria or anywhere in the world is going to improve. All right. Thanks to everyone that has been part of this first edition. We hope to make it better going forward. Of course, we are sorry for whatever lapses or whatever shortcoming we might have had in the course of this first episode. We appreciate those of us that have been calling, texting, chatting to give us 1 or 2 recommendations, and we hope to get this better. Our next meet on a live section like this will be on the 27th of February 2022, God sparing our life. But prior to that time, we hope that you stay with us on our YouTube channel, Amao Babajide Samuel, with our weekly updates on the release of leadership discourse episodes, as we're going to have it starting from tomorrow. All right. We also hope that those of us that have not followed us on Facebook, please find our Facebook page, Leadership Discourse with Amao Babajide Samuel, and please follow us on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Instagram at Babajide Amao. Please, would like to get your response, your input, and your suggestions for us to make this better. You can always share our videos with people on your timeline so that this message can spread and we can have more followership, or more people having access to whatever it is that we deliver as content on this platform. For those who have one questions or the other, like we said, you please would not mind the little lapses we have. We hope that in subsequent live editions we'll be able to address our questions. But after this live section, for those of us that have questions, please drop it on the comment section. We would adequately address some of your questions directly, or also has a direct response to your question, as the case might be. All right, it's already 7:05, and I want to appreciate those that have stayed with us on Facebook, and those that are equally staying with us on Instagram. All right, till we see again next month, please go with the consciousness of the fact that you are a leader and you have a responsibility to influence people around you positively. Till we say bye-bye, thank you, and God bless you.